Hey there, how are you? Today we are talking about self-control because it's still December and we're talking about willpower is basically the theme all this month. So hopefully you caught last week's video on willpower and why I think that's usually, in most cases, an excuse for all of us to give up control, whether we have willpower or not. It just it kind of is like we're blaming it on whether we have this trait or this willpower gene or something. When I think if you watch the video, I explained how it's more self control related on choice based on our own actions. So today we're going to go into self control and what it really means, or how to tap into it, right? So, self control is the ability to manage one's impulses, emotions, and behaviors to achieve your long term goals. It's what separates humans from the animal kingdom, basically, right? So, self control is primarily rooted in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. Um, so, that's the planning, the problem solving, decision making center of the brain, which is significantly larger in humans than in other mammals, right? So, that's what I mean by like it separates us from the animal kingdom. The hold on, let me check my notes. Staying in control. So staying in control, if you've been alive for just a little bit, you know that some days are easy to stay in control than other days. And if you really start to like journal and figure out why, on the days that you're just fatigued, whether it be mentally or physically, say you didn't get enough sleep, you're going to notice that you just don't have that much self control. You don't make the best decisions and choices on those days. I know on the nights that I just don't get a good night's sleep and I'm like really exhausted the next day, my body is not craving salmon and a big green kale salad. Like I'm craving the junk. um, Funny how life works that way. But so it sounds pretty basic, but getting yourself a good night's sleep and a good night's rest is really key to making all your good decisions during the day. It's key for that willpower, right? Key for having that self control when you're fully rested. So when our energy is just exhausted, we're just always going to be making uh not so good choices, like the worst choices. So staying in control, so you want to make sure you get a good night's sleep and you're rested so you can make the best decisions for you. So there's a debate surrounding whether the degree to whether self-control is an innate individual difference versus a learned skill. Most experts believe that people who have lower levels of self-control can still cultivate healthy habits when they take these, you know, measures to control their behavior and to learn these skills. I think self control definitely fluctuates. Like I says, depends on the day. Um, I think this is true for just everybody. Suggesting that self control is less a mental capacity, such as an intelligence or a learned skill, than a fluctuating resource along the lines of your physical energy. Okay, all that to say that we're all different. Some days are going to be better than others, and it really has to do on your physical and your mental fatigue, energy, or lack thereof. How do you avoid temptation? Well, I started with you really need to be rested because I think you just make better and wiser decisions when you're fully rested, right? When you don't have that overwhelm that even if you're fully rested, but you've got like a million things going on and you're high stressed, that's overwhelm, which gives you that mental fatigue, and then you're not making the right decisions. Then you're going to give in to that bag of chips versus let me have that healthy kale salad. Um, so if you're tempted to eat junk food and you're tempted to eat like all this stuff, the easiest solution is to not have it in the house. So it's just not readily available. Like what you um preference what is the term I used to say? Exposure is your preference, right? So what you're exposed to, you're going to learn to soon as have a preference for. So if you've got old junk food in your pantry, it's easy, you're just going to grab it. But if it's not around and you have your pantry full of healthy snacks and healthy foods and whole foods that you just always prepare, that's going to be your preference. So exposure equals preference. Okay. So my granddaughter, she's 6 currently. She If I don't have cookies in the house, she doesn't ask me for one. But if she sees them in the pantry, she's going to ask and practically beg me for cookies. So exposure equals preference. So don't have it around. If you're, and this has been my biggest obstacle to overcome, is I am married to somebody who loves his junk food, like does not eat the way I do. So I have to have his stuff in the house. So I can't use that. So I really need to have self control. I really need to be in control and make the right choices because it's all around me. And if I'm stressed, yeah, I'm going to probably tend to grab for one of those food items that are not so good for me. So I was using that as an excuse for the longest time why I couldn't make the right choices because of my family and because of what they wanted to eat. But then I heard something the other day that I was just giving my power away. And I was like, ooh, yeah, like that's a new perspective, right? Everything is a perspective on how you look at things. So I was like, I'm not going to give my power away. Yes, it may be harder for me or you if you've got somebody in the house that just needs that stuff around versus you live alone or your family is on board with the same eating habits. It's harder, but it doesn't mean it's impossible, right? So it's just, again, retaining that power of choice. Everything is a choice. My good friend says every day is Tuesday. Choose, not Tuesday, which today is. So every day is Tuesday. Every day you get to choose. Every day you get to choose what you do, whether you work out, what you eat, who you associate with, all that stuff, right? So let's see. We talked about avoiding temptation. Also, I don't know if you're a believer or not, but if you are, this speaks to me, and I just wanted to share it with you. There are at least 15 Bible verses on self control. Okay. So, food cravings are no joke. We know that. They're strong and they're convincing and usually lead us to eat more junk food than we need, and we don't really need any. But so God created food to sustain us and to fuel us, bring people together and bring enjoyment. But food was never meant to control us. But it seems like food has this control over us. So how do you break that control? One of the ways to break that control, besides obviously getting sleep and exposure equals preference and taking back your power, is to rely back on the Bible. Like I said, if you're a believer, cool. If you're not, no big deal, but it's just another tool in your toolkit to help you with the self-control and the willpower and making the best choices. So if you're growing in if you want to grow in self-control, 15 Bible verses, like I said. So turning to God in these moments of temptation and to listening for God's voice can be very helpful. And one of the verses that sticks out to me the most is Galatians 5:22-23. I don't know which version this is, but I'm just going to paraphrase it a little bit. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Self-control. So self-control is a fruit of the Spirit, a sign that Christ is in us. So again, if you're a believer, tap into that as just another way of trying to have that self-control, that willpower, that ability to make better choices for you, for your goals, right? So again, there are 15 verses. That is one of the main ones. So if you don't want to let your decisions or you don't want to let your desires for the stuff that it really isn't good for you, the junk food, that's can spin out of control really fast and go downhill fast. So rely on self-control that the Bible says is a fruit of the Spirit, and that's it. So like try and fulfilling those cravings, um, maybe just by picking up the scriptures and reading and just like praying and meditating about it and all that good stuff. So Let me see if there's any comments. I don't see any. All right, cool beans, guys. Well, I hope you have an awesome day. We've got a few more weeks to this series. I know this is a month where December, we've got a lot of holiday parties coming up and get-togethers and gatherings. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know what you want to see in the future. And my podcast is live, launched last Monday. You can catch it anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's Life Untapped with Francine Rivera. Friday, I am giving away a $25 gift card to Amazon. This Friday, I don't know when you're watching this video, so today's the 8th. Friday might be the 11th. But reviews take about 24 hours to show up. So you need to leave a review by Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, the latest, to be entered into the drawing I'm having, like I said, to give away a $25 Amazon gift card. So because your reviews and your ratings help spread the word and helps to get the message out to people that there is help and just to let the podcast get out there. So thank you for your support with that, and I will see you next week. Bye.